to establish two more Pythagorean identities for trigonometry. The first identity that we have is cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. And where this comes from is your Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And also remember your unit circle. You have your unit circle, and the circle formula is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Well, we know that cosine of theta equals x and sine of theta equals y. So, and on our unit circle, r equals 1. So basically, we're just writing, and basically it's cosine of theta squared plus sine of theta squared equals 1. By convention, this is what it actually means, but by convention we put the square inside. So you get cosine squared of theta plus sine squared of theta. It's just easier to write it this way. Okay? This is really what it means, but in math we write it this way. Now we're going to establish two more trig identities, or Pythagorean identities. So we have cosine squared of theta plus sine squared of theta equals 1. And what we're going to do is divide each piece by cosine squared. So you divide cosine squared, and cosine squared of theta. Well, this part equals 1. Okay? Sine over cosine squared, if you just do sine over cosine, that's y over x. And y over x, you know, is tangent. So this is going to be tangent. Since we have the square, we're just going to put the square there. Okay? And 1 over cosine is like saying 1 over x, which we know is secant. But since we have the square, we just put the square there. So there's another identity. Now what you're going to want to know on this one is how to rewrite it. So we can also write this as 1 equals secant squared of theta minus tan squared of theta. Okay, so that's with me just subtracting tan squared from both sides. Or we could write it as secant squared of theta minus 1 equals tan squared. And that's with me just subtracting 1 from both sides. So you need to know how to manipulate these when you start your trig identities. Okay? And the next one we're going to do, or our last one, write cosine squared of theta plus sine squared of theta equals 1. And we divide everything by sine squared. So this is like saying x over y, which we know equals cotan. So that's just going to be cotan squared since we have the square there. Now, sine squared divided by sine squared is just 1. And this is like saying 1 over y, or y squared. And we know 1 over y is cosecant squared. And again, you need to know how to manipulate this. We have 1 equals cosecant squared of theta minus cotan squared of theta, because I just subtracted cotan from both sides. Or you could say cotan squared of theta equals cosecant squared of theta minus 1. And the reason it's important to know all this before we stop is this one and the other one we did, they're kind of hard to remember. So if you ever forget what they are, if you don't get to use your formula sheet, you can always just divide them and figure it out that way. Everyone will know this one. Believe me. All right. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.